Hello and welcome. Hello everybody on Instagram as well. This is very exciting. Very first time going live onto Instagram and on Facebook at the same time. Let's see if I can manage the technology. So we're on there. We're coming back to our next episode of our podcast series, a very special podcast series on the Leaders Who Love What They Do podcast. So welcome back, and I'm Anne Collins. For those of you who don't know me, and I'm just so excited to bring you this episode, which is part of our series on the inner voice. And if you're on Instagram and you haven't come across this yet, then do hop over to our website and you'll find episode 1 that's already on the podcast. The rest are going to be coming out gradually over the summer. So if you're watching this, you're in for a treat. You're seeing it a little bit early. So let's first look at what the topic is for today. So the question is, why taking action isn't enough, and who do we need to actually become? And I think for this, this is really fundamental, because it's all about understanding the process of change and growth, and why we really need to harness our inner voice in order to be able to do that. So let's first look at the difference between learning and growth and change. So I come from a background in education, and in fact I've had 25 years of working in education, and through that time I've had the privilege to work with teachers at different stages of their careers. And I think it's true to say that as a beginning teacher, we're often thinking about what we're doing. We're planning out our lessons, we're thinking about the activities, we're thinking really about the organisation, a lot of it, or the teaching, as it were. And as teachers become more confident and experienced, they shift into thinking about the learning as well. So there's that really big shift between I'm teaching and then I'm helping others to learn. And with coaching, we're really going the next step further. So I'm inviting you in this episode to go further into looking at what real growth is. And by that, I mean how we start to transform the way that we think. And so this is the way to think about ourselves, our capacity, but also our situation in the world and the people around us. So transforming the way we're actually thinking, not just learning new knowledge and new skills. So it's a very, very, very different step, and a very powerful one as well. So this means really harnessing our inner voice, because that's our internal dialogue. And to change the way we think, if we can harness that, then we're going to be helping that transformation along the way. And I don't want to say it's a quick and easy way. It's not quick and easy, but it's a very efficient way, especially if we put the practice in and we really invest in that. So what happens when we start to truly change the way we think? And well, what happens is that we can start to look at who we are. And we can start to think, crucially, who do we want to be and who do we need to be with these wonderful goals that we've set for ourselves. So I think this is really, really exciting. And what I'd like you to do is to imagine that you're thinking about getting, say, a board position in a company. So yes, there's probably a list of ideal experiences that you should have had, maybe a list of competencies and skills that would be useful. But so often when we're looking to recruit people for these very senior positions, in fact, what we're looking for is not what you've done, it's who you are and who you show up as day after day. How do you inspire other people? How do you support them? How do you challenge them? How do you connect with others? How do you analyse situations? And how do you bring those results and reflect them back to people so that they're motivated to keep going? How do you bring people together, crucially? And how do you bring a culture of people together where people are motivated and they feel and there is a real purpose to what they're doing? So I think that really your inner voice can be such a gift in this situation, particularly in these times of transition where you're transitioning from a post which is maybe there's still perhaps leadership in that role, but to a very senior level where these leadership skills are absolutely paramount. It's less about your technical knowledge and it's more about who you are and how you show up. So who you are and how you show up. It also means how others perceive you, of course. And this is where we can really use our inner voice to allow ourselves to step into what that actually means. Who do we need to become? We also need to use that inner voice to continually clear the decks. And if you're not sure what I mean by that, do go back to one of the previous episodes that I talked about how we continually need to clear the decks of the clutter. And by that I mean the clutter in our heads, what's stopping us from moving forward. So alongside clearing the clutter, which is we were talking about really having our purpose, knowing what our purpose is, knowing our values and strengths and all of that, we can very often get stuck in a state of doing. And what I often see is that when people are stepping into these very senior roles, there's so much to do that doing becomes a very natural space to step into. But of course, when we're stepping into these roles, action is important. We can't just sit there and think about things, but action is absolutely vital. But it's not going to lead to the transformation that we need to have at that level. Because who do we need to be? So in coaching, we often look at this wonderful trio. We look at feelings, thoughts, and action. And the idea is that how we're feeling affects how we're thinking. How we're thinking affects what we're doing, what action we take. Now, of course, those three things, we can see that those are interrelated. And taking action is, of course, a very important part of coaching. Having concrete results at the end is really important. But we also need to focus on what our thoughts are, what we're thinking. And as we've seen in these last few episodes that I've made for you on the inner voice, that working on the thoughts at the same time as working on action is really very powerful, and where we can see this transformation taking place. And so why is this particularly something for people in these leadership positions? Well, many people, especially those who are very driven and focused, and I would include myself in that group, I think that we have a tendency to get stuck in the state of doing. We like taking action, we like having to-do lists because we want to tick things off, we want to move forward, we want to see progress. But we risk something huge by doing that. We risk that opportunity of missing that opportunity of really developing the foundations of being who we need to be. And those foundations, I think they really help us, and in a number of different ways. So those, and by foundations, what I mean by that is what our thought processes are. Some people might call it our paradigms or our programming, if you like. So how we're thinking. If we miss that opportunity to reprogram or reset or adjust how we're thinking, we miss out on building that solid foundation. And that foundation can really help us in a number of ways, I think. Firstly, I think when we have a really clear vision of who we need to be and who we want to be, we feel very empowered. We know where we're going. We've got a line in front of us, a vision in front of us of who we need to be. And when the blips come along, which they will, they do, that's life, things happen. When the blips come along, we can ride them more easily because we're less likely to be shaken, because actually the action isn't the important part. It's the foundation underneath. Who are we being? Are we showing up as day after day consistently? I think in terms of also how we show up day after day means that if we're showing up consistency, we're playing the long game. So those little ups and downs, we can weather those storms. It's it's very much like being out in the mountains, which is a place I love to be. Out in the mountains, we can weather the storm if we've got good shoes, can't we? The rest is, well, we don't worry about it too much, but we need the good shoes. We need those solid foundations. And part of that is, again, I come back to clearing the decks. When our purpose is clear, when we are able to manage our stress better because we're solid, we know how we need to be, we know what's important to us. we're able to also get to this point that it is amazing when I see it in my clients. When clients get to this point where those foundations are solid, the possibilities that arrive, the new things that arrive, they're able to open the door to those. They're able to pivot. They're able to be flexible. They're able to take on new ideas and take on new learning because they know who they need to be in order to get to where they want to go. So they can be flexible. And that is amazing. So in that state of being able to take action, of course, but really knowing who we need to be by working on our inner voice, by reprogramming, resetting, we're allowing ourselves, I believe, to truly grow. By paying attention and training our inner voice, which is actually, it's a fascinating part of building those foundations, we're able to start to invest in our own transformation. We're able to transform our leadership skills. We're able to transform our careers. We're able to transform the way that we show up for our families, for our friends in everyday life as well. So if that's been of interest to you and you're a senior leader and you would like to learn more about how you can clear the decks and connect truly with what's important to you, I invite you to join me at the end of August for a 5-day challenge. It's the Life, Leadership and Purpose Challenge. And in that challenge, it's an amazing training that will give you the first steps towards really clearing those decks, getting that clarity, working on what's important to you, and to really start living your legacy right now. And we talk a little bit about the inner voice within that training as well. So it's based on it's five sessions, not very long, 40 minutes each. They're in Zoom, and if you can't make the sessions, it's no problem. We have them all on replay for you, and we send them out to you. And the last time we ran it, we had fabulous feedback. People really enjoyed not only the content, but also they really enjoyed what was interesting for me. The feedback was that they enjoyed having the space that was protected for them to really move forward and to think and to reflect and to think about something that often doesn't get to the top of our to-do list, especially if we like to-do lists and we like to focus on the next action. So to sign up, you just go to bluebottlecoaching.com/events, and there you can click on a link and it will take you straight to the registration page. So that's bluebottlecoaching.com/events. If you need help with that, then please do contact me either here in the comments or send me a message, and I'd be very happy to help you get registered. So don't forget to join us for the final part of this series. So you can go to the podcast, the Leaders Who Love What They Do podcast, and follow us there. There'll be an episode coming out every week during the summer, and keep an eye out for the posts on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever you are. So with that, I'm going to leave you. Have a lovely day. Thanks very much for joining me. Bye-bye.